America reacting to all of this? For that, let's ask our friends Mo Kelly, host of the Mo Kelly Show in L.A., and Tony Katz. He's the host of Eat, Drink, Smoke. Mo, let's start with you, Mo. What do you make of this reaction on Friday? We just kind of gotten over Thanksgiving, and we all woke up and our phones were going nuts. The market was down 900 points. We got travel restrictions. Now, though, the markets are bouncing back. What happened?
Well, you have to think we've gone through an unprecedented 2 years in this country. We're coming up on 800,000 Americans who've died because of COVID, whichever variant you want to ascribe to it. So Americans, I would say writ large, are concerned. Now, from a political standpoint or a government strategy standpoint, you can choose between an abundance of caution or an abundance of COVID. We're getting ready to go into the winter months. You want to get out in front of this as opposed to being behind and trying to catch up, where arguably we've already experienced that before. So I think initially people may have been concerned, but now they're understanding we're better prepared.
Yeah, we don't want an abundance of COVID, Tony, that's for sure. But we happened to notice the other day after these panicked headlines all came out, there were 100,000 plus at the big house watching Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, I think Americans feel like we've done almost as much as we can.
Americans don't panic. That's different than whether or not people panic. So the point there is that when you see the markets go down as they did, and today they're up 200 and 300 points near that respectively between the Dow and the NASDAQ, they realize, okay, those initial reports are not things we should be responding to. People going to watch Michigan, they want to see a win over Ohio State, and nothing was going to stop them from doing so. But I have to disagree with the doctor right there. I don't believe that what we've learned about Omicron, it tells us that you should get a booster. It tells us that we know absolutely nothing. If the doctors in South Africa are telling us that the symptoms they've seen are less than Delta, less than COVID, extremely mild, and they don't even lose taste and smell, that's not something that's going to inspire people to go out and get a booster. That President Biden used it in that press conference today to say, get a booster, get a booster, get a booster. He took advantage of an opportunity. I don't know how many Americans are really interested in following him down that road. And to Mo's point, you're right, 600,000 people have died, but we still don't have answers about comorbidities. We still don't talk about weight loss in America. Some of the other things that would very much help and keep those emergency rooms less occupied if we had people focusing on that, as opposed to your only option is vaccine and booster.
Well, Mo, what do you say to that? Because that is the one thing we do know that we have.
Well, first, I would politely disagree with Mr. Cox and think that I would be in a place to disagree with the doctor. But I do remember what he said, that the mutations have about 10% of the genome. So at its base, at its foundation, it is still COVID, and it's still is going to be treatable by the vaccine on some level. So if anything, we're asking for some protection as opposed to no protection. And yes, better lifestyles, healthier living will help our overall outcomes. But I'm not going to necessarily catch COVID because I go to the grocery store and the guy next to me is obese. So we have to think about this in a collective sense, not just an individual sense as far as our dietary needs. And yes, if we're living better, then fewer people are in the emergency rooms, but we have to control that which we can control. And if we have a vaccine which helps in terms of the workflow in our emergency rooms, then yes, let's keep going down that path.
Tony, are people listening anymore? I mean, those of us who've gotten the shot feel like we've done our parts. Those who aren't going to get it aren't going to get it. Those who will wear masks, well, it feels like people are doing what they feel comfortable with on a personal level at this point.
And that's a very, very good thing. Your question is the right question. Are Americans listening? And the question is, listening to whom? To Dr. Fauci? No, they're done. They're finished with that. There is no faith in Dr. Fauci. He gave what can only be described as a awful performance on Face the Nation on Sunday. They're not buying into the hype and to the fear that the market may move in fear. We can talk all day long about the difference between Wall Street and Midwest Main Street. Midwest Main Street goes to watch football. They're going to watch the Indiana Pacers. They're going to concerts. They're going out to bars and restaurants. The people who want to live in fear, they want to live in fear. There's nothing wrong with being vaccinated. I am not anti-vax. I am anti-mandate on every single level. But my point was, we are not discussing enough about the things that can help people avoid long-term illness and creates those comorbidities. When we find out the comorbidities that are connected with COVID, that's going to be a very, very interesting number.
Mo, I'm out of time. 10 seconds, if you would. As popular as Dr. Fauci might be, he's unpopular in other circles. Is it time just for a change in messaging to change him?
No, it's just not about performance. It's about the facts. And at the end of the day, if you look at the percentage of Americans vaccinated, they obviously believe more in Dr. Fauci than they disbelieve him.
All right, Mo Kelly, host
true.
of the Mo Kelly radio show in LA, and Tony Katz, he's the host of Eat, Drink, Smoke. It's great to have you both as always. Thanks for the time.
You got it.
More mobs pulling off smash and grab robberies over the long shopping weekend, and one former police chief saying this trend will spread. Nation